This video is supported by patrons like you. If you'd like to become a patron, please head over to patreon.com/Matt Jarbo. Okay, so the Rise of Skywalker had its final trailer the other day. People lost their mind over it. And then mysteriously, magically, seeming to appear or apparate like a Force ghost out of nowhere, leaks started to drop. A couple images came out kind of showcasing or exposing the final ending of the movie. And it's one that has fans up in arms because they are not happy with what they have seen, or at least the idea of what they've been shown. Because if you look at these things, and I have, and by the way, I'm not going to showcase them here because that's not my place. If you want to find those particular images, by all means, you can find many different videos that are showing them, or you can find them on Twitter, or just Google it, you're going to find it. I'm just not going to do that here for people who don't want to have it spoiled. Anyway, people aren't a huge fan of what they've been shown, but there's no context. There's absolutely no context to it unless you go back to the plot leaks from a couple months ago that everyone reported on, myself included. And one of the reasons why we reported on it, and this is even coming from someone like Geekdom, who says it just sounded so absurd, it just, no one thought that it was real. And then you see the final trailer and it corroborates a couple of things that were said in there. And then you look at these leaks and it kind of corroborates a couple of things that were said in there. And it becomes clear to an extent that someone from inside Lucasfilm is leaking this information out, that somebody is really trying to sabotage this movie. But why? I mean, why would you risk your job? Why would you risk potential lawsuits? Why would you risk anything like this in order to showcase to certain people out there that their fears are correct about this film? And you may say, well, Matt, you just said it yourself, to showcase that their fears are validated in regards to how Disney and Lucasfilm are going to be going forward with the Rise of Skywalker. But again, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It just doesn't, because Hollywood, generally speaking, doesn't entirely operate that way. People in the industry want to keep their job. People in the industry want to make sure that they can put food on their table as more and more jobs start being outsourced. People in Hollywood talk. So whoever is the one leaking this information, if it got out that it was an insider at Disney or Lucasfilm or Bad Robot or whatever, they would be blacklisted throughout all of Hollywood. I mean, all of Hollywood. Why would you screw your entire career unless that's what they want you to think? Now, let me showcase as to why. So first things first, Geekdom put up this video the other day. It says, Disney confirms Rise of Skywalker leaks are real. They struck me. And he says here that he got a copyright strike from Disney. In fact, showcasing here that a copyright claim blocked the video and that it came in from Disney. And then he appealed it. And the next day he ended up getting it released. So Disney confirms they're real by copyright striking him, but at the same time, then releases the video showcasing the leaks. I mean, why wouldn't they just leave it up? Why wouldn't they just leave it blocked? Some could argue at that point, well, people would be talking about it. It would spread throughout the internet that these were real, and then more people would share it and they'd have to block a lot more people. The thing is, that's been done before by companies, right? When you had the Gears of War 3 got leaked online a couple weeks before the release of the game, anyone who had any Gears of War 3 footage was getting struck down left and right by Epic Games. Companies have done this to protect their assets. And you know what? The thing is, they know YouTubers aren't going to sue them. They know YouTubers aren't going to sue them because most of them don't have the money to either file a lawsuit or to defend themselves in court. And the bad press would more or less not be that bad against them, because people would just sit there and go, oh yeah, no, they're protecting their intellectual property from getting out there. They're just covering their own bases and they're protecting their stuff. So at the end of the day, it would just go away. It doesn't make any sense why they would claim it and then just immediately release it. By claiming it, they draw more attention to it. By releasing it, they draw more attention to it. It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, which tells me, based on how the YouTube system often works with this kind of stuff, is that, yeah, someone saw it, someone did claim it, and then they released it. But I wonder who, and I wonder why. And I can't help but think about J.J. Abrams. And J.J. Abrams is a bit of a trickster. And so I have to ask the question, is J.J. Abrams the one who is releasing this information. And there's actually a history to back this up. So first off, let's discuss why this could be happening. And it's basically, I think, pretty simple. Back in 2015, when The Force Awakens came out, JJ was tasked with almost an impossible job to bring Star Wars into the new millennia, and to bridge the gap between 1983 to 2015 to continue the story 30 plus years later. That's what he was tasked to do. And Bob Iger and a lot of people agree that he did the best job that he could. Now, the movie, mileage may vary on it, is still miles and light years better than the Last Jedi, which fundamentally broke the franchise. So much so that Colin Trevorrow left the movie before The Last Jedi even came out in theaters, and many people, myself included, were wondering why that happened back in 2017, September of 2017, months before the release of The Last Jedi. Only until seeing The Last Jedi and how it ended and how Rian Johnson borked everything did we then understand why J.J. Abrams was brought back in to bring it home. He had 2 years to basically craft a solid end to the Skywalker saga, a saga that he plotted out when he was working on the script for The Force Awakens. And he's even gone on record in saying that The Last Jedi didn't really derail any of the plans that they had for the movie. So it does make a lot of sense here that JJ kind of knew what he was getting himself into, and that he had, again, the ultimate task of bringing home this 9-movie saga that spans 42 years, and to do it in a way that pleases everyone to the best of their ability. It's an impossible task. You're not going to please everyone. But what if you selectively leaked information that would keep people talking, keep people guessing, all the way up to its release? Selective information coming out that was as much of a misdirect as anything else. Is that what's happening here? I honestly don't know, but I can't help but think that that is potentially what's going on. And I say this because I want to take you to this article here on Wired.com. It says, remember when Cloverfield ate the internet? Good times. And now the image you see on the screen here is from 18-08.com. And that was the very first website for Cloverfield, back when we didn't know what it was, when it premiered in front of Transformers in 2007 as a little short, unnamed trailer leading to that website. The game began, and the screenshots you see here are all from that. It was giving people something to look at, questions, and you can, if you've seen Cloverfield, you immediately recognize a lot of this. And the thing was, it took the internet by storm. People were digging into this. They were digging into this for days and for weeks and for months leading up to the January 18th release in 2008 of Cloverfield, the movie that I will fully admit I saw 5 times in its opening weekend and is in my top 10 list of all-time movies. I love Cloverfield. And that is something that J.J. Abrams really, really, really wanted to make sure that people knew about, that they wanted to have them discussing it. He wanted them to play the game. And the game now is so much different than it was in 2007 and early 2008. The game now is all about secrecy and leaks and discussions and plot points in YouTube. And what if J.J. Abrams is playing YouTube and YouTubers against themselves or against the audience? It's a risky gamble, but it's one that does make a fair amount of sense. Because here's this article here on argn.com saying everything you probably didn't need to know about Cloverfield, where it goes through the mystery of 11808. It goes through what was hiding in trailers for Star Trek Into Darkness. Are You the 1701? Coming down here to Super 8 had a similar ARG that was going on at the time. J.J. Abrams has done these things for years and years and years. He's known for creating that type of ARG. Now, Star Wars has never done that. Star Wars has never fully embraced it because they didn't feel they ever needed to. When it comes to Cloverfield, you do want the movie to have mystery surrounding it, and you want people to get excited to go and see it. Same with Super 8, same with Star Trek a little bit. They wanted to play that up to see if it would have any impact. And the truth of the matter is, it did resonate with a lot of fans. Cloverfield has a very, very diehard fan base that is still surprisingly active all of these years later, and they're waiting for Cloverfield 2 or Cloverfield 4 or whatever it is JJ's going to do. But again, I asked around people who I know who work in the movie press industry, like the access media, if you will, and I asked them what they know about J.J. Abrams and what they know about secrecy. And one of them got back to me who was actually with a Paramount event today and had said that during the promotional tour for Cloverfield and for other films that JJ did for Paramount, they had no idea what he was doing. The PR people had no idea what he was up to because JJ is so secretive. He'll put out certain tidbits and certain pieces of information, but then he just lets it go. And there's an article here from 2013. JJ Abrams defends secrecy. And this is something that he has defended for a long time, even leading up to the release of The Force Awakens. But here's a quote that he says here. He's like, I will sit in a meeting before a movie with 80 some people, heads of departments, and literally say that all I ask is that we preserve the experience for the viewer. Every choice we make, every costume fitting, every pad of makeup, every set that's built, all that stuff becomes less magical if it is discussed and revealed and pictures are posted online. I just want to make sure that when somebody sees something in a movie, they didn't watch a 60-minute behind the scenes that came out 2 months before. And you might be thinking to yourself, doesn't that just discount everything you've said? If he defends secrecy and he wants to preserve the audience going experience, why would this information come out? Well, again, going back to my previous point, when it comes to The Last Jedi, and it all does boil down to Rian Johnson and that movie, it has everything to do with subverting expectations. Because people didn't know what to expect about this movie. People don't know what to expect about this movie. And there are going to be people out there that are going to actively 100% attempt to crap on it before it comes out. Why? Because every little thing is terrible. Worst thing on the planet. It's bad. Because they've been conditioned to do that for the last couple of years because they know that it invokes an emotional response from the audience and therefore builds their base. So what if Abrams was playing them against each other? Think about that. No, I mean, just think about it for a second, right? He's like, look, we are coming up with this movie. Let's get people talking about it a few months in advance, right? Before the trailer, everything else, because a couple things leaked out of The Force Awakens, but it was some concept stuff and nothing that really came to pass. We know there's stuff that ends up on the cutting room floor. The Last Jedi didn't really have any leaks that came out because there was really, like, outside of Luke dying, there was not much there worth spoiling, to be fair. And then, this one, it's like, why don't we play that game with those people? Why don't we give them stuff to discuss that is maybe running parallel to what we're actually doing, but enough to where it's different and enough to where they think they might have something, but we're just giving them a gigantic misdirect and moving it over to something else. Now think about it, right? We hear reports. They're teasing 7 endings of the movie or 6 endings of the movie, which, could be because they're doing test focusing, and test focusing is why they're just trying to figure out the ending to the movie. Well, here's the thing with that though, and this is coming from Jason Ward over at Making Star Wars, who's usually pretty knowledgeable. He says Star Wars films are never test focused. That doesn't happen. Anyone that tells you that is either lying or misinformed. God, I wish they focused Star Wars films, as the leaks would be copious, and I would be Scrooge McDuck swimming in coins, only the coins would be leaks. No, the coins would also be money because you'd make a lot of money off the content that you produce talking about the leaks. But he's right. People who are watching the movie, if they were test focusing it with audiences like Hollywood is known to do, then people will be talking about it. Doesn't matter if they sign an NDA or not, somebody would break it. We always know this happens because it always happens. So we clearly know that any of the information coming out about test screens or test audiences or test focusing is probably a load of crap because JJ wouldn't let that out there. The marketing department of Lucasfilm or Disney is going to do their own thing. And that's something that JJ can't control, but he can control what information goes in and what information clearly goes out. And I think that image, that one key image, that real crystal clear image that everyone is talking about as being legit, as everyone is talking about as exposing the ending of the movie and everything else, I have to ask its origins and I have to ask its legitimacy based upon that previous question. Because think of it like this. Whoever took that photo had to be standing in front of a monitor in order to be able to get it. Somebody had to do it. Somebody had to be in there, meaning that whoever took that image, because only a small group of people at this point will have seen that stuff, will have seen that movie, will have seen anything to do with it. We're talking a handful of people, maybe the VFX people, but that's really about it. And a lot of that's going to be kept under wraps. And again, these people don't want to be blackballed in Hollywood, so they're not going to leak this stuff. So someone had to be standing in front of a monitor to snap that photo. And you're telling me that nobody else saw it? The photo looked real crystal clear. It wasn't a quick pull out and snap, because we know how phones these days, when you're trying to also focus a phone on a darkened image, probably in a darkened room on a bright computer screen, it's not going to take a couple seconds to try to get a decent focus, and it's not going to come across looking like it's whatever. It could be a multitude of things. There's one shot I saw of Kylo that looked like it was on a screen, and like off to the side, so it could be part of the sound, you know, the Foley work, or an ADR session, or you know, sound, whatever. It could be something on that one. Again, don't know. But somebody still had to take that photo, meaning someone had to put their job on the line. And that's what I'm trying to talk about here. Someone put their job on the line to put this stuff out there. It just doesn't make any sense. Not in today's world, not in today's Hollywood. You'd be blackballed, possibly sued. Not worth it. Not worth it if you don't generally benefit off of it. But what if? I mean, really, what if JJ is the leaker? What if he's putting this out there, trolling people, getting them to think one thing, when in reality, it's something entirely different? Everyone who has talked about these leaks have championed their legitimacy based upon the Content ID claim that came in from Geekdom's video. But the immediate reversal of it the next day doesn't make a lot of sense. How does it confirm it's real? Someone took it down. Maybe someone jumped the gun, someone overreacted, or somebody targeted it in order to get people to think that it's real, so that when they do go and see the movie, their expectations are massively, massively subverted. Now, this is all theory. This is all speculation. But there's enough of a track record of JJ defending secrecy, but he still wants to play with the audience a bit before going in, knowing that he has to make sure that people, that their viewing is preserved, that the audience experience is preserved, and not coming in and not having an absolute lockdown, these images coming out. There is something happening here. But we won't know for 2 months whether or not it's real or fake. So I leave it to you, your thoughts, your opinions. Do I make a good case for these potentially not being legit? Or am I just, you know what, blowing smoke out my ass? I am curious to know your thoughts. Let me know down in the comments below. If you're curious yourself, please leave a like. Please leave a comment. Please consider subscribing. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day. Thank you again for watching, and peace out.